you talk about leadership, especially when you see some of the female young age, they really trying to and interested. What would be not necessarily as advice, like just learning from your journey? What would you uh suggest them to consider, think about, or yeah?
Well, I think the reason I'm here is because my priority has always been the family.
Mm.
And when you have your core value, it doesn't matter whatever change outside. It's gonna be up and down all the time, and you will find you got pulled down by your own people. Find that the people you least expected to be your oppositions became your biggest enemy. Those kind of things will happen. I think.
Wow.
Just
Yeah, I like what you're saying. It's like really know why you're here for.
yeah.
And even with the journey, like who are you fighting for? Because you're not fighting for yourself, fighting for, so you wouldn't shift just because someone disagree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I know that people will say that I've got all sort of nicknames. I'm stubborn, or I'm staunch, or I'm tough.
Yeah.
But the thing is that I know what I'm doing is right.
Yeah. Well, I will have to say it because people don't know you. I wouldn't. I think all that came with the injustice, like because you want, I know you not. I know
But you know, when you were in the meeting space, when you try to bring out the questions, you get those people who are very good at articulating things. They just dodge your questions, and you just have to keep bringing them back and say, that's not answered my question. My answer hasn't been questioned.
Wow.
You haven't been talking about my point.
Wow.
And or maybe you're missing my point. Here's my point. So you can't. That's why people say that I'm stubborn, because I keep bringing them back.
I think that's called authentic leadership. You wouldn't let people get away sitting there and believe that they can use nice phrase and the way to talk around things and still not answering the question.
Yeah, I'll say it that you're still not answering my question. And I find it very interesting as that they probably don't have that sort of direct challenge in the past. They went, okay, but what I'm trying to say is,
but Eva, that's what I want to say, like that's why the authentic city studio is for the whole purpose. If we keep in mind and not challenging authority, we'll never get to where we need to be. I think it's hard, but because I know, like sometimes sitting there and really fight for what you believe, you could be the only voice.
It could be lonely at times. I remember one of the phrases that Auckland Council now is also liking to use that is that when they were talking about they try to reach the hard to reach people and blah, blah, blah. And they were sitting there and I said that, well, actually for us, you guys are the hard to reach. Because we don't know the system. We don't know how to navigate. We don't know how to access your service. So speaking of hard to reach, you are the one hard to reach.
Wow.
And I
like how you turn it around. That's true.
It is.
Yeah, that's true.
My living experience, Auckland Council is a huge machine.
Yes.
And you don't even know which window to knock.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
And then it was like, at the moment when they said, we work hard to reach the hard to reach, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, nah, you guys are the hard to reach one. Then the staff that I'm working with, she goes, I'm going to put it into my report. So then they like start to hear the same thing over and over. And I think it's a good reminder that we are not the hard to reach, as the system is hard to reach. But
I agree. Like because if they say it's hard to reach, when you see some of the biggest Chinese events, they're all there. Go and talk to them. Find someone who can speak their language. Like it's not that hard. Yeah.
And you do have Mandarin speaking, Cantonese speaking stuff. Why can't you send them? But then you do see some young leaders who has good education, good position of job. They came to talk down to you, and that's when I love to verbally slap them.
Verbally slap, okay, not physically.
Yeah. One of them. So sometimes you will find hard to talk auntie at the time. That will be because I pick up something it's not quite right.
Yeah.
We were talking about this. I think as one of the half you say, and this finance people from council, Chinese person tried to tell me that you need to support us. How you say and blah and blah and blah. And I was like, but I don't understand. As that when you pay huge money to the experts for the investments and withdraw all the grassroots support, how does that even make sense? And of course, they have the nice accounting terminologies and all that. And I was like, stop right there.
Yeah.
I don't understand the terminology. I just see what it is.
I agree.
And the young people, when a real leader will be doing things like, good idea, I'll bring back, and then have a discussion. But what he tried to say is that, no, you don't understand.
I know.
And I was like, for real, I don't understand.
I agree, because that's what the biggest mistake over and over again is they invest so much money, design the questionnaire and all that. However, the questionnaire designed in a way that does not speak to the people who live in the situation. So I agree, like such a huge gap. It's like when I look at the questions, I can't relate to it, even though all they are relatable. So I know where you're coming from, and then so they kind of like, oh, you don't know all this jargon. It's not, come down to the level of the people who is going to be impacted. Stop spending all that useless money to make things look good, but it doesn't really engage with the community.
Yeah. That's what I keep saying to. I know that we all quietly said, "Oh, this is a tick box exercise." But what I love now is that I actually say to their face.
Yeah, of course, I know. I'm with you too, Eva. Because my frustration, same. Sometimes I know all the jargon, strategy, and all that. Layperson wouldn't go and read them. Like, why? Seriously, and yet I haven't seen anyone or any government willing to truly make the language so accessible that they can see themselves in it. Because they still can't, because all this lovely, fluffy, English first.
Well, when I guess that where the struggle starts is that when you see the question that doesn't relate to you, you will ask very practical questions, right?
Absolutely.
And the standard answer will be, this is at the strategic level as a higher. Same thing. I roll my eye every time I heard that. And I was like, but it doesn't come when it comes. It can be implemented at the grassroots level.
People don't understand, we've both been in the sector for so long. Of course, we understand, but even we struggle to see ourselves. It's like, if I step outside, not, as the professional and just a layperson, it's like, can I really understand what is this about me that I just like, no.
Yeah.
You don't.
Can I see myself in there? No.
No. It's like this government jargon. Nice, whatever, but it's like, I can't relate to it. And then you get the same people go to talk about the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, you see people, and especially now, in the events. I remember in the past that we will be asking questions that how can you do this? How do you make sure that happens? But now everywhere you go, you find people asking for fundings. And
sorry, I shouldn't laugh because it's a tough time. Sorry.
That's what I think.
But that's true.
You see everyone.
That's true.
Going back to the early years, that I remember the same struggle as well.
Yeah.
And over these years, you experience the same, that there will be people go straight to the funding issues. But, the thing is that funding doesn't solve all the problems.
No.
Resources is.
Better use of them, absolutely.
And then people keep saying that we're short of funding and the budget cuts and whatever. When you really want to do something, that's not going to be an issue. Hawaii project, for example, we start from zero. Mount Roscoe Collective, for example, we start from zero budget. All
that came from people
wanted to do it. And Mount Roscoe Collective, we start from no funding. We don't apply fundings for the collective. We apply fundings for the project, and we allocate, like Sister Fatima does the main heavy lifting thing, and we do the small bits and pieces around it, and then there will be youth programs, everything else. It's not because the funding is, well, English is not our first language. We don't write the things we want to see. But we see the needs. And I remember one of the events that our minister said that your people need to, can't remember exact word, but basically he said that you guys need to be more educated to get a higher job. And we got this professor. I love her for that. She said that the statistics tell you that our migrant youth have higher qualifications than you guys. And I was like,
it is.
But then second and third generation New Zealand, like Asian New Zealanders, they have the same education, they have the same English level, they probably work hard as their parents as well. The only reason is because we hold our culture and we're not blending to the local culture, and we became, in the hierarchy thing, we're always at the bottom line because you can only get to a certain level and you stop there. That's why when we have our young people come up and say, I've got a plan to do this, we try to help them to make sure that
let's make it happen.
And to make sure that they don't feel there's a limit.
Exactly.
Because to a point, we cannot feel like, oh, there's a limit. We might just, it's probably the city already and whatever.
Or some, what I have seen and witnessed as well, many Asians, they kind of have to put their identity away so that they can become this mainstream person to be able to compete. They won't be able to retain their own culture while still able to mitigate two cultures together. Absolutely.
But actually, it's not healthy. Even though you put your culture away, people still see you as you look. So it doesn't make much difference to them. And unless you have a very, if there's any advice to the young people will be knowing your strength.
Exactly.
That we don't have to be good at everything. Because I've got, you got a group of people working together. I've got Ivan knows everything else. I just only need to know my thing. And went out and put the words out there to challenge whoever and come back to Ivan and say, I'm losing on the spot. Where is the information? And Ivan would and I'll go out and fight again.
Absolutely.
So you don't have to be perfect in everything or professional in everything. You just need to know as a machine which part of the machine are you? Are you the front line one or are you the back seat one? Are you comfortable to be the back seat one or do you want to be the front one?
I like what you say. It's just like the clock, like you can only see the short and long arms, and the second that is the analog. But every little piece of the clock is so important. Just one piece is missing, the clock is not going to work. Absolutely.
So it doesn't, because a lot of our people fears is that whether they are the one who at the front page, or whether they are the one who got interviewed, or whether they are the one who got invited. There are so many events I wasn't invited, but it doesn't bother me.
And even people also don't understand why you're constantly on the news is because they couldn't find anyone else. No one willing to share a real story. I mean, like that's why it's so important to talk about this, because Asians don't like to talk about bad things, but you were being interviewed because you're willing to engage with media. A lot of Asians don't, I mean, like we have seen the changes right now, but and that's why people come to you, because they know you tell the truth and willing to engage with the mainstream media and tell people what's going on. Yeah.
Well, the thing was that is, in the past years of working, I see people love to sugarcoating things and everything's fine and good. Because then if that's all the message we send out to the people, then nothing's going to change.
I agree.
But if we keep crying, we've always been crying and say, this is missing, that is not enough, then eventually people get tired.
Yeah.
We're still not going to get any support.
Yeah.
So what I would do, and always been doing, is that if I see something, I'll say it. If it improves, I'll celebrate it. Even with a small improvement. I remember during COVID time till now, there were times that I said to the MSD people that are people as struggling to find a job, and the job that you guys give out the list, it's so complicated. Your website is so complicated. I don't want to refer out people to your website. Give me a list, and then we'll do that. Then we do have good response. People come in and apply jobs. Some of them then became work broker for MSD. Some of them get their other full-time job. And there were people come back and say, I emailed, but no response. Then I'll say that I'll forward the email to me, and then I'll follow up. I mean, what I did is I keep numbering them. Number 1 case, number 2 case, number 3 case. And so there will be times that I will say that referring to case number 46, you haven't been responded.
Wow.
And that is very sharp question.
Yeah.
The meeting we have all that meetings. And then that's where I know people feel uncomfortable and feel ashamed.
Yeah.
But
wow.
that's the only way that you get them noticed.
Yeah.
And there's
way too. But I want to ask you these questions before we finish. I have two questions. First, so what leadership means to you?
Leadership means to me is that I like the idea of being at the back to push all your people to the front, or being people at the bottom to lift your people up. That's what a leader should be doing. They should be serving their people, not to have their people serve them. And I was lucky in a way. I was told by a multi-narrativa, and I was like, yes, that's how. Because we Asian, we see the leader as the one at the top. Everyone is going to them. I don't like that. So when he said that, a true leader tomorrow is to lift your people up, and I was like, that's right. That's what I felt too. And so there are times we just love to sit in the back seat and have the young people running around, experience themselves and be the leader they wanted to be.
And another questions I really like to ask is, what advice you would give to your younger self, especially the one that first met me? I mean, like, would you even thought about it's such a long journey, isn't it?
I know. I remember at the time you told me that that I would do something great. We just don't know it yet. I think what I would say is toughen up and lifting yourself. things will look hard at the time, but nothing is permanent.
And then I also want to share with people, like people probably wouldn't even have any idea some of the toughest things you have to go through, which is we don't talk about it, but they only see the Eva that's standing in front of people talking and all that. But man, some of the things they went through are difficult, but you could have just give out everything, but you didn't. So
I think it's also because of the upbringing. I believe my grandma is a Thai, and she believed that nothing can be solved. So I believe that just hanging there, things will be solved out. And then the life experience tells me that things are actually going to happen at the right timing.
Wow, that's the wisdom.
It is happening. I remember during COVID time, we have this huge arguments around vaccine and people turning to each other and fighting against each other. And then you could see it's an endless battle. And it's good to know, pick your fights. That I look at the conversations and think, this is not where I want to spend my time on. So I walk away and work on full puzzles, which it turns out as this, rather than spending time online and arguing, you actually do a real thing. And that's why I say that life keep me grounded as that. At that time, I got a call from a dad. He goes, I'm so embarrassed to say, but I can't even afford an nappy. Then I think, why am I wasting my time?
Attending the meeting with nothing changed,
and
not doing anything.
People, and then when I can actually just simply drop a nappy through this day, it switches your mind. There are times that people will say, why didn't you give up? And the reason will be, I don't think it's a time to give up. And there were things that I would believe that this is not the point to give up. And or I might be just as stubborn and think that I'm not going to give up on this. Like the full puzzle thing, we were hitting so many walls for 4 months minimum. People keep turning me down, turning us down and then back and all that. We finally had a meeting, which we have that poker face, and he goes, we've already had the service in. And then 3 of us women and the other side of the computer, we were like, oh, this is so serious. But someone has to say something. So, yes, I know that you've already have service in place, but we, as a group of community people, we don't receive anything. So,
because you say there's something in place, but people needed it, still haven't got it yet.
Yeah, but those people at the top level goes, well, that's because you're not looking at the right place or whatsoever.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I can see my sisters say, so disappointed. And because we finally have the opportunity to talk to the person. So I was sitting there and I grabbed the opportunity and say, I'm sorry. Actually, no. You're going to make this and that and things going to get worse. And so instead of being polite and say that we need your help to help our people, I actually just lay out everything to him and say, you haven't done this and that and that. Wherever you say support is in place, it's actually a gap. And then when he left, I remember sharing with you that I think I screwed up because he's probably never faced someone being so
direct.
It's like I said, verbally slap him. It's not right. That's not right.
So stop celebrating about what you did or what you have done.
And so I actually think that, hey man, I screwed up. Why can't I just? There will be times you feel like, oh, why can't I just myself a little bit more? But and then I feel sorry. I say sorry to the sisters. That I think that's And
you know what?
They always say to me that, well, we done our best. Even though it's disappointing, but we done our best. And then we kind of woke up in a very disappointing emotion. But then a few weeks later, here comes the contract.
Wow.
And we were like, oh.
That's what happened when you tell the truth.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, yeah, you don't have, we don't have problems. Like, no, there's people really need this and not getting a thing.
Yeah. And so believe in yourself.
Yeah. Wow.
When you know that, because we all know what we're asking is not coming to us. It's going to the people.
And also because you have evidence. Well, I would want to point out as well, like because you have evidence to point out those stories, those challenges. It's not just like, yeah, I just hear it. It's like, no, I have to drop off a nappy.
That's a real thing. And during the Auckland flood as well, we've been out and trying to seek the shelters. And everyone said, oh, the government has this shelter. But none of them work for us. We have to seek for our own one. It's not like we want to be a special or something. It just doesn't work. And so when the politicians come and say that, because I remember making a very angry post on Facebook. So the next minute I got an assistant come in and what happened? So I tell her what happened. They couldn't help much. But the voice was out there. So we eventually get help.
Of course.
And then
this
is something that at that higher level wouldn't be able to see.
Exactly.
And so if I want to be a higher level people, this will be the things I miss.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I want to do this. And what makes me proud most is when my kids come back home and say, I've met a stranger and they ask if Eva is my mom. And that is my proudest moment.
Wow.
Because sometimes they get a tiny bit help, or not tiny.
Yeah, I know.
They get some help from those strangers gave some help to my children.
Oh, wow.
And the reason being they know they're my kids.
Oh,
I think that's the most rewarding part for me.
Wow, thank you. That's beautiful.
So that will be my proudest moment.
Yeah. And finally, like, this is me saying to you, thank you for being the very first guest of Authenticity Studio podcast. To me, even though, like, we don't keep in touch all the time, but I always knew what you're doing. And I just want to say, on behalf of many people who probably didn't have a chance to say thank you for your big heart. And you are very humble because, you have done so much that probably people didn't even know. So.
Well, I'm not doing that for myself. It's always a team. And also.
That's why people like to work with you. You never take credit as all. Just me. You're really willing to make sure that people understand there's also other people work with you. Well,
depends on the situation. If I want to challenge someone, I will go, do you know I'm actually someone?
Yeah. That is because you have to be strategic. Otherwise, people thought, oh, who are you? You see here, absolutely.
Another ordinary Asian woman. Whose English is not the first language. So when the time comes, I will show off the titles I have. But then who cares about your title in the community? Right? They remember your face because you bring them a tea or maybe because you bring them something. And like you keep saying that as a migrant, we don't have family here. So we have to build our own family here. And one thing my daughter was very proud. And she said, you need to tell people that this is my cousin, that is my cousin, and she's got 4 or 5 cousins in the uni. And then other migrant kids were like, you're so lucky your family's here. And she goes, no, these are my mom's best friends, so we're cousins. We pretty much grow together. I think that's the thing for the migrants is that, yes, we don't have.
And then I also want to point out, like people only think about migrant as Asian, but no, there's migrant from all different cultures as well, isn't it? Not just Asians, like they equally struggle.
So you don't have a family here, build your own family. You don't have cousin here, build your own cousin. That's how we do, right? We help each other and treat each other as family. And then it's not because we want something in return. It's just, I think the relationship is most important, is more than everything. I mean, bonding can be ended, relationship can be broken, but genuine relationship will last.
So that would be the most important thing is the genuine relationships that will last.
Yeah.
Thank you, Eva.
Thank you.
Oh.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.